Let's open up with Grand Theft Auto. Folks, this is a game that has been in development since, from what we understand, 2013. Like literally, when Grand Theft Auto 5 released, they started working on GTA 6. I would imagine that after what would be a dozen years, they have spent a lot of money. One of the big conversation pieces out of 2024, if you find folks remember, was that we had heard from several journalists, a few analysts, and a few knuckleheads on PlayStation that said $100 games would somehow right the wrongs of the industry. Well, folks, we're two shakes of a stick away from that. We saw during the Nintendo event, Nintendo, it's a bit mind numbing for me personally. Was the first one out the gate to raise games to $80, but the fact that they used the wording variable pricing really set the tone for what could be an industry-ending next couple of years. I think that you are going to see sales decline in the biggest way right now. And again, we'll talk about it on the back end of the show regarding Xbox Game Pass still being at $20. I would imagine that maybe next year it's going to go up. But I think that the announcement from Microsoft regarding the price increase is going to funnel people towards that service. But again, we'll cover that more on the back end of the show. Getting right back to Grand Theft Auto, it has been delayed. What I said in the opening of salvo of the show, 13 months. It has been confirmed by Rockstar Games, ladies and gentlemen, that it has been delayed until May 26th of 2026, which is obviously next year. So, of course, I do have the presser. Let me just find it again. Here it is right now. Again, I pulled this, so there's no shenanigans, and I wanted to make sure it was real because it did not look real. I said this to Fuzzy. Fuzzy had sent it in the DM, and I'm like, my God, that doesn't look real. Well, this is officially from the X account or the Twitter account of Rockstar Games. And I'm going to read the presser for you live on the air, ladies and gentlemen, so get ready. Here it goes. Grand Theft Auto 6 is now coming May 26th of 2026. And it says, we are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding the new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. We want to thank you for your support and your patience as we work to finish this game. With every game we have released, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations. And Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand that we need this extra time to deliver at the level of quality you expect and deserve. We look forward to sharing more information with you soon. Sincerely, Rockstar Games. Again, short, sweet, and to the point, ladies and gentlemen. The game has been delayed. There are some ramifications here, both in the positive side for games releasing this year from other platform holders and from other developers and publishers. We originally saw that early in the week, Borderlands 4 got moved out or moved forward to September. And we all thought, I think we were all fair for thinking it, that this was due to Grand Theft Auto releasing in that window. And of course, I'm sure that the industry as a whole is taking a giant sigh of release that there is a confirmed release date. And if that's not happening for the next 13 months. But Silent Cypher, I'm going to bring you in first here. This is, like I said, I really believe that this is a sigh of relief for lots of people in the industry. For me, one way or another, I'm not buying the game. This gives me an opportunity to save up my Microsoft points. So when this game does release, potentially at $100 to start, I at least won't be paying out of my pocket. I will be just paying with Microsoft points. I'm closing in on 200,000 as we speak. I actually had 300,000 and spent a little bit of it. Now I'm just in save mode. But let's get your thoughts on this, because when I said ramifications, and I did open up with the positive side of things, which is what we like to do here at Double Barrel Gaming, there's some negative conversation that is happening already. Now, of course, that negative conversation is going to put Sony at the center of it. And Sony was expected by many accounts and many people that I have spoken to, both publicly and privately. Uh, and the running rumor, and this is not a surprise. People have talked about this. This is no breaking NDAs. That it is expected that Sony is going to have the marketing rights. This would not be a surprise at all. They are one of the world's most recognizable brands. Sony has had the marketing rights before. I would not be surprised if they did drop the bag. And the reason why, and I know there's going to be some people in the chat that say, oh, they can't afford it. Actually, they can. And here's why. For many, many years since the Xbox One release, the marketing rights were then picked up by Sony in 2014 for Call of Duty. Now they don't have to pay that money for the Call of Duty marketing because Xbox owns it, and they are going to run with it. But last year was a little bit different because last year it did not expire. The contract that Sony had with Call of Duty until 12/31/2024. The strike, the hand went to midnight. We get 2025. Now all marketing goes back to Microsoft and Xbox. So Sony now has this big bag of money, and I'm sure they had to add more to the coffers because it is Grand Theft Auto, but it makes sense for them to do it. Now, again, I don't know this for sure. This is just my pure speculation, but here's the thing. If they did have the marketing, I'm sure that they have been working their asses off since the beginning of this year for what is expected to be one of the biggest marketing blitzes on PlayStation ever with Grand Theft Auto. I think it'd be bigger than any of their own first parties. And now that's not happening. Now, again, folks, it's speculation. I don't know if they've been working on it, but it makes sense that they were getting ready to potentially push. I don't know if bundled. I don't know about so much about that, but you know how Sony does their work. They would have let everyone know that Grand Theft Auto was on their box, and maybe even with some extra goodies, because that's just what they do. That's not going to happen now. So let's get your thoughts on the delay there, Silent Cypher, both positive and negative.
Yeah, of course, as gamers, and as we've seen for the last few years, if a game gets delayed, it's not a bad thing generally. So if they need more time, good. It is what it is. I'm annoyed ultimately, and we've talked about this before, but don't put a date out there for me if you're not going to be able to reach your date. I know that you have people that you have to answer to, stakeholders and stuff, but I really don't care. I'm the customer, and it annoys me. And as a customer, I have the right to be a bit of a Karen sometimes. And so the way I see it is like, if you can't hit your dates, don't put a date out there. I'm not going to put a date out there that's unrealistic for my personal work because I don't want to get to that date and look like an idiot. So I would expect you as professionals not to do the same type of stuff. But it happens across the industry. And again, we know why. But I just wish we could get away from that. It's just like until you are rock solid on that date, don't say anything. Just leave it be the way it is. Now, I do have to say, I love the fact. Now, granted, we're going to see a delayed on Xbox side of things too. But I love the fact that all those people out there that have just been chanting, the PS5 Pro mantra, like, oh, it's going to be the best place to play. Suckers, you're going to be waiting just as long now. And you bought hardware that was already outdated and overpriced. And now you get to wait longer for it to come out, and it's going to be even more outdated and overpriced. As this gets delayed further out, more games are going to come out, and it's going to continue to look less and less impressive compared to other games. So that investment that you put out there on that hardware not really working out for you right now, especially given the specs and the details we've seen on the games that have run on that system prior. We know that it's not setting the world on fire as far as upgrades. So it's interesting to see the timing of it. I'm happy to see a couple people in the media side of things getting eggs on the face for really poorly timed comments about buying a PlayStation. Just because you bought the other system doesn't mean that it's going to get delayed. Like you can sit back down, put your big boy pants on, and start being less of a turd online. I think in general, if some of the media would just stop doing some of this, it'd just be a better situation in general. But back to GTA. Yeah, I had no expectation that that game was ever going to come out this year. I think when we first got the heads up that it was coming out this year, I was like, right. So add the Rockstar tax, which is about 6 months to a year or more, and that's the actual release date we'll get for this game. And that's kind of falling right in line with what I was expecting. Again, I look forward to it. If they need more time, cool. It is what it is. But don't put dates out there, and just focus on making the game. Get it out there so we can enjoy it, whatever system you end up playing it on. But yeah, just I don't know. There's a lot of people out there championing one brand versus another on this thing, and it's like we're all going to get affected by this delay. Just sit down, play some other games, get over it.
Well, because we normally don't name the names here, but for context, folks, we got to bring in who actually said what he said. Ryan McCaffrey of IGN, who has on occasion or two put his foot in his mouth for certain things, blasted Microsoft, as I believe anyone should, regarding the price increase. And you know what? He's a journalist. He works for IGN. He does have and is the voice of an Xbox podcast, like I am and many people on this panel. And I believe that was the right call. Putting Microsoft on blast, giving them the smoke, and letting them know that as a consumer, you don't like this stuff. That's the right thing to do, folks. Now, again, is it going to affect everybody the same way? It's not. And I'll break down why it personally affects me and why I'm a bit annoyed. But it's his second tweet that kind of, I don't know why these guys do this. Like, to me, it's like you are screaming for someone to look at you. And I don't think he needs to do that personally. He's well known enough. And he has done some things that have been questionable in the past. And I think this is one of those things again. And again, it just really aged super poorly in about 10 hours. So yesterday, Ryan McCaffrey of IGN writes this: Microsoft's price hike inspired me to go out and buy a console today. And on his table is the PlayStation 5 Pro. And in parentheses, he says, as I've said on podcasts, I've already planned to do this as I want the best day one GTA experience. And since I'll now be shocked if Sony doesn't raise the Pro to $800 soon, I decided to act now. And of course, he bought the console for Grand Theft Auto that was releasing this year, and now it's not. So it's one of those tweets that I hope he deletes because it's aged poorly, and it is what it is. And interestingly enough, I'm not a tech guy, folks, right? So I will never lead a conversation on tech. I will ask the questions. So we were talking, and I say we, Keasante and I, this morning about the PlayStation 5 Pro suspiciously always being compared not to the Series X, but to the PlayStation 5, which, of course, by power ratio is 40% better, right? Which is that's a big jump. So if you are a PlayStation only gamer, of course you want to get a Pro. And I would say if you want to get a Pro, you better get it now because Sony is going to raise their price, and I think that's happening soon. But interestingly enough, he talks about power, and he wants the best place to play Grand Theft Auto, which is not PC because it's releasing on console only first, right? Well, I didn't know this because, like I said, I'm not a tech guy. Did you find folks know that by the number ratio of the PlayStation 5 Pro to the Xbox Series X, which is a console that's 5 years old, is only a bump in power by 3%. That is blades of grass that we're talking about, folks. Now, I understand, again, we're going to get into the smoke from Microsoft for raising the price of the Series X upwards of $730 for the 2 terabyte, which is effing ridiculous. But Sony's going to raise their price to well over $800 for the Pro. That's happening soon. When it happens, we'll see if the same rah-rah people get out on social media and give smoke. I don't think they will. They're a bunch of cowards, but it's fine. Crispy Bomb, let's bring you in and let's talk about Grand Theft Auto 6's delay. I think that if I'm right with Sony having marketing, because it's Sony, man, you just got to expect them to look at this and just be salivating. Of course they're going to get the marketing rights. It makes too much sense. If they did, they were planning big. Mind you, you got to remember, they only have one game coming out this year from first party, and it looks dope. I'm not going to front. I'm day one there. Ghost of Yotai, day one. There's not even a question. But they only have one game, and I'm sure that they were banking on Grand Theft Auto as being the one that's going to sell the most consoles for them. That's not happening now. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Oh, man. Like, that's been the thing, right? Like, that's been the selling point of the Pro right now. Like, oh, you want to play GTA 6 the best way? That's how you do it. And sorry, Ryan, but I mean, I love the egg on your face, bro. Like it's too much. Like you ask for it all the time and you get it. And it's not from the community. It's from the company themselves. GTA is like, you know what? We got to delay this. The day after you do that. It's hilarious. It's mind-boggling why people put themselves in that type of position. Like, look, like, yeah, the Pro is comparable with the Series X. I mean, if you've watched enough videos and you do enough research, you know that the Series X has been the best console for a while now until the Pro came out. And it's exactly the way we felt when we bought a 1X, correct? I mean, anybody that bought a 1X, we're like, oh, wow, they're actually like upgrading the games we love. For me, it was Gears, okay? And yes, I played at a higher resolution, but you couldn't compare with PlayStation. And the same goes for like games like God of War and stuff like that. Yes, it plays great on the Pro. That does not mean, and we learned this, and look, I could have egg on my face too 5-6 years ago defending the 1X, but at the same time, we have learned that a lot of these other devs are not necessarily going to use your tools that you have provided. And they're going to say, we're going to make a broad spectrum and we're going to make it for consoles and PC and everything else. And if you allow certain things to happen, you allow them, but we're going to do it at our own pace. And I think Xbox has learned this and said, look, like if we have a console that's powerful enough already, at the least take a loss in some way at first or be at cost and continue this development cycle within said console and then help these devs get to where they want them to be as far as making visually fidelity high games. And also, I mean, how many times we talked about the FPS? Like, I don't hear nothing about that, the FPS for Pro. I don't. And so then you look at GTA 6, what is the actual thought process in delaying it? Was it even ready yet anyway? And they just gave a broad spectrum and then said, nope, we're gonna go to the year later. But an entire year in announcing it right now, and right after all of this bad news, it's like, okay, let's just get the bad news out. Let's just do it. We're not we're not a podcast, and I think I can speak for everyone that is going to hate a game being delayed, especially as one that is supposedly as monumental as GTA 6. At the same time, I'm not a huge GTA fan anymore. I was when I played 3 and 4 and San Andreas and Vice City and all those, but it became redundant to me. So I never played 5. Now, will I jump into 6? I don't know yet. But now we're looking at, like, are they waiting to see if they can go $100 for just the standard edition, go $200 for maybe extras in the online service and all that, and then maybe like $300, like basically buying what was a Series S and saying, okay, you get like a statue or something like that. Like, we don't know what they're planning, because at the end of the day, I mean, think about what Boom said. 2013 is supposedly, like, as soon as they released 5, they started developing on 6. So how many years is that? This is where we can respect delays, but it comes to a point in time, is like, is this strategic, or is this, okay, like, we can make this game super polished? It's one or the other. Because at this point, like, you should have came out with this a long time ago. And we usually, like, you get over 5-6 years, you start saying, okay, where's the next iteration? Because this is getting a little ridiculous. And we are way beyond that. So I wonder, and this is where, like, I agree, like, maybe probably Sony could have the marketing rights. I understand that. But at the same time, what do you think the pushback is from them when they only have Ghost of Yotai right now? I feel like, I don't know if they have the marketing rights, because why would they not have any say, or at least, like, like, hey, like, we need this game this year to sell our consoles. You know what I mean? So where are they at? Like, it's a little weird. And that's where I say, like, imagine if, like, the June showcase with Xbox, there's marketing rights to GTA 6. And then maybe during the Game Awards, they announce some new consoles. You know what I mean? Like, those are possibilities, because we've seen them before, just in different timelines and stuff like that. So I say, be cautious in thinking that it's, they might not give anybody marketing rights. That might be what it is. And I'll be honest with you, because at the end of the day, like, this is their biggest game they've ever released. I mean, think about the development time. Think about the cost. Like, I think, like, the last time I saw Strauss was $1 billion easy they spent on this game. $1 billion easy. And that's where I say, like, they might want to get all the bread they can, but by delaying, they say, okay, let's see how the market reacts before we release our game. And I really believe that that's probably their thought process, because, maybe they didn't know. They probably did know that Xbox was going to do this, but maybe they didn't. And maybe this happened, and they're like, you know what? We need to delay this, because we can't price ourselves out of selling 20 million copies or something like that. We have to be mindful, and we have to figure out where everybody's going to lie at the end of the year. You know what I mean? So then they go to next year. And then I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think that's the date either. I really don't. I think if it's going to get moved back, it's going to get moved back. And then everybody's going to deal with it, because all they want is that new GTA experience. Now, me, like, it is going to be completely new. So, maybe I do spend $100, but I also have other things that subsidize me actually going and saying, you know what, I will actually play this game. But at the same time, like, you would think they would want to release it sooner than later, because, I mean, Take-Two, they love their microtransactions. So, like, as time develops, like, you add that extra cost on the front end, you're not necessarily going to get it on the back end. And then on top of that, people might be turned off if you add all of these other microtransactions, which they could absolutely possibly do. So I think, you know, they're trying to like let the market do its thing. And I think doing that announcement right after Xbox, it just seems a little weird. And I'm going to leave it at that.
Again, it's a fair point. You know what I haven't seen, Korkenstein, which is shocking to me because this is almost like a default. Goddamn Series S, you caused the delay because it's only a matter of time before you hear it. There's gonna be somebody. There's gonna be your regular journal that is anti-Xbox and be like, you see, I talk to different people. Let's get your thoughts on the delay, brother. How bad or good is this for the industry, Korkenstein?
I mean, like like I said, it's kind of a good thing and bad thing. I think Silent mentioned it as well. You never know. You know, now that people know, and honestly, I'm with Crispy. I don't think Maze. I think it's going to hit another delay. I mean, like I said, you could look up the definition of delay in the dictionary, and it's a Rockstar logo. It's just that's just what it is. They're known for. But I mean, also coming from the other side of a developer side, it makes sense. Like the one thing, stories already done, characters have already done, all of that stuff. Probably art assets are already done. What they're probably struggling with right now is probably the tech side of it. Rockstar is known for their very large worlds, but they're immersive worlds. Things where there's things happening in the city constantly that are changing how the game kind of plays for the player. Things like that. You know, while if you've ever played GTA 5, you've seen where you can switch to different characters and they're actually living a life outside of what your other character is doing. That kind of stuff. So they're probably hitting a lot of technical. They're probably trying to get graphics up to snuff. And it's like I said, I think it's a good thing because we do want the best version. I'm always pro delay. It sucks for me as a gamer, as a consumer, but on the other side, I understand. I know what they're trying to do. And to be honest, GTA Online prints money. They literally can take another 2 years or 3 years if they want, and I don't think Rockstar would really get that hurt. They did, though. I am seeing reports, though, they are getting hit pretty hard by this delay. I think their share price fell like 8%. So yeah, it's a bad thing for them. But I mean, once it releases, that'll probably go up, double. So it'll probably go up 16% once GTA. So it's not a big loss. They're going to take that hit early, but it's going to pay off in the end eventually. It's just got to wait. I think it's hilarious. I called it out as well. I'm going to preface it like this. Ryan McCaffrey, he's a good dude. He really is. He doesn't mean any malice, and I know he's the IGN Xbox guy. But like most people at IGN, they don't know shit. And I'm just gonna be straight up honest. They're very misinformed.
Yep.
They tunnel vision themselves into. I mean, of course, a lot of it too. They're bankrolled a little bit by PlayStation. They're very heavily PlayStation very heavily pays marketing to them to push their games and stuff like that. Not in a nefarious way. It's all legit. I'm not saying PlayStation's paying them
they get bankrolled by
narratives.
Sony Interactive Entertainment. That's a fact. That's a absolute fact.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's nefarious that they're doing it to say, hey, push good articles out. No, I'm not saying that. What I am saying, though, is, when it comes to marketing, PlayStation really heavily invests in media and things like that. Not just IGN, but everywhere to push their games out to get a broader, audience. That's just the business. But they are very kind of PlayStation skewed, I feel like, and a lot of them don't really have an understanding of what the industry is. And it was just a really bad tweet, and it's it's kind of on par for him, sadly, and it sucks because he really is a good dude. I just think he's just very misinformed, and the tweet came off very poorly. I'm buying it now because I want the best version to play. And it's like, you're not, if they're delaying right now, you're probably not going to see the PlayStation Pro enhanced version you really think you are. It's not going to be this 4090, change where you're going to get full path tracing and ray tracing and at 60 frames, 120 frames per second. honestly, you're probably going to get 30 frames with a little bit better ray tracing, and probably, yeah, that's a little updated pixels you can't see unless you're, you know, 10, a foot or two away from your monitor. If you're on a big 4K inch screen, you're not going to see the changes you think you're going to see. And that's the big thing. I mean, with the PlayStation Pro, it's the 5, it's ridiculous. It's a shit console. I'm not gonna compared to what you get from the previous iteration, it's not a great console. It barely minimum. Not enough developers are gonna buy into it. You remember, people, developers now have to do extra work to utilize those features. This is why the DualSense 4, hardly anybody utilizes more than the haptic feedback. Barely anybody. They don't use the little stupid breath thing. They don't, a lot of them don't use the gyroscope. A lot of them don't, because it's so much extra development work, and you're kind of shoehorning your gamers or your developers to develop features and change their games to utilize. Not a lot are going to end up doing that, and it just doesn't make sense. And that's kind of what the PS5 Pro is. You're now saying, hey, cool, now we want you to do more. And unless you're going to bankroll those developers to spend the extra time and money and effort on the PS5 Pro enhanced version, a lot are just going to get the fuck out of here. Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Listen, we're all adults here, brother. It's early in the morning. Curse all you want. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm still waking up. I still have another two cups of coffee to go.
I love it.
But I mean, that's just what it is. And you're not, Ryan, I'm sorry, you're not going to get that version you think you're going to get. And I think you're going to end up being very severely disappointed. And if you really think, I mean, it is a smart move. I will give them credit. Buy now if you can, because the prices are only going to get worse. We'll talk more about it with Xbox and stuff like that, so I won't delve too far into that. But if you guys think that PlayStation isn't going to raise their prices globally, they've already done it twice in 1 year. They're going to do it again.
Yep.
Especially in the US, where majority of people have their stuff manufactured in China. You're going to get hit by the tariffs sooner or later, and that's just what's going to happen. So it is a smart move. Buy now. But for you saying it's going to be the best version, PC is always going to be the best version, sadly. And granted, I don't think it's going to be a day one release, because again, historically, Rockstar separates the releases. But I mean, who knows? I mean, now that the Xbox GDK makes it easier to develop just for one platform, because when you develop on the GDK, you're developing for PC, you're developing for Xbox at the same time. You don't have to make a separate SKU to develop. So maybe that might change Rockstar's mind. I mean, who knows? We'll see. But time will tell. But overall, it's good. Delay the game. Wait till it's in the shape that you want it to be in. As a consumer and gamer, I'm very disappointed, because I'm replaying 5 right now, and it is a great game, and
It's
Crispy
brilliant.
is right.
It really is just a brilliant game. I mean, the characters are so oddly different, and when they get together, if you listen to the dialogue, a game as old as H, but it's a brilliant game that came out 12 years ago, and you could pick it up today, which I'm sure everybody has at least 5 copies of it. I'm telling you right now, check your couch, ladies and gentlemen. There is a sealed copy in there somewhere. I'm telling you. You didn't know it's there, but it's there.
And yeah, Crispy's right. It is a little bit more of the same thing, but I mean, it's also different because of, like I said, the characters, the narratives. I mean, fundamentally, it's a Grand Theft Auto game and how it plays, but
yes,
just what really separates it is that narrative, is the characters, is how the world reacts to the player, that kind of stuff. So, I think it's good, and I can't wait to play it. But it's going to have to be until I'm going to guess it's probably going to get pushed to October 2026, October or November, probably 2026 is probably a more realistic date.
Holiday, perfect timing.
Yeah.
Perfect timing. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your hot take on this, because obviously They're going to sell more copies of 5. 5 continues to be in the top 10. Now, I haven't been watching the top 10 on sales, across the board recently, but it's usually in that top 10, top 15, top 20. And again, it's unbelievable that it is, because the game is the highest selling game of all time, and it has been out since 2013 and it has seen multiple iterations. But I want to get your thought on the delay. And again, of course, you want to mention, and there are some others that I'm starting to see now that have literally blamed the Xbox Series S for the delay. Folks, that's not what it is, man. I mean, Zelnick himself literally said, we are not worried about the S. I mean, that's the guy, the head of the company. If he's saying that, remember, what he says moves stocks. He's not going to lie to protect Phil Spencer's little baby, in the Series S. He's not going to do that. He can't do that legally. He's got to tell the truth. That's what he does. But let's get your thoughts on the delay and any other additional conversations you want to have regarding it.
All right, I'll start off with the delay. I think we can all agree that this was kind of expected. It was a little unusual for Rockstar to talk about, oh yeah, it should be coming out this quarter or this year or something, from like the conference calls as far as for their projections for the quarter for their stock and stuff like that. It just felt weird. Like, Rockstar, I don't think has ever released a game on time, ever. Like, I don't think they've ever committed to a date and it actually landed on that date. But I could be wrong. At least with GTA, except for maybe some of the ones that they had on mobile at some time, I don't think they've ever, reached the actual launch date. But great that they announced it now. Some people in the chat made mention of it. Hopefully, maybe we get an update in June about Fable coming this year instead of next year or something, because it kind of felt like that was moved out of the way, possibly for GTA. And I know the rest of the gaming industry is like, whew, dodged the bullet. I mean, we should have known something when Ghost of Yotai picked this random date in, what was it, October or something, I think. So it's like they must have knew then that GTA wasn't landing anytime soon to, go that far out with a date. And we had the thing about Borderlands 4 with them moving up the date. Then it seemed like, well, are they moving it up to make room for GTA? But it's probably slotted where GTA was supposed to be now. But we'll see how that all pans out for Borderlands 4. But as far as the delay, yeah, expect articles blaming the potato. It won't be true, but they have to find an scapegoat. I mean, we've only been waiting 12, 13 years for this game, so we got to blame somebody. That's the thing to do these days. But I'm gonna ask you to put on your tinfoil hats, because I'm thinking this is more of the reason, and giving the date that they gave, why they delayed the game. Are you ready? Tariffs. Guess what? This month, tariffs start kicking in, right?
Yep.
So we already saw Xbox raise the price on the console. We know PlayStation is going to raise the price on the console. That's going to shake up the industry. Do you want to release your game in the middle of when nobody's buying consoles, when you've already said your game is next gen only? So let's think for a minute. There's tons of PS4 owners. There's tons of Xbox One owners. This game comes out and they're seeing a console is $700. Do you think they're going to run out there and buy the game and the console? No. So why release the game in the middle of turmoil? Yes, you're already on next gen. Customers will buy it handily. And there's 75 PS5s out there, and let's say 35 to 40, not 75, but like 75 million plus PS5s. And at least I would say 35 to 40 million, maybe a little bit more, of Xbox Series consoles out there. That's great, but not every person that has that console is going to buy a copy for each console, because a lot of us have multiple consoles. So I have 3 in my household. I'm only buying the game once. I'm not buying it for each console. So it might not be the best prospect, given that these things are going to go up astronomically for a month or two. And then we'll see, what the economic landscape looks like. Give it a year. Because I guarantee you, within a year's time, a lot of these tariffs go away, because either deals will be had or whatever the case may be. But it doesn't make sense to release your game this year, especially when sales are going to probably plummet across the board for hardware when all of them start raising their prices. So if you've already got your Series console, good on you. If you don't have one yet, and you didn't beat the price hike, hopefully you have a decent computer and maybe get the parts for it in time, or maybe you got your Switch 2, which I have my doubts on the Switch 2 being able to play this game. I mean, I'll be glad to be wrong, but I mean, they did get Cyberpunk on it and stuff, but we'll see if they even bother putting GTA on the Switch 2. Just because they're already, washing away the PS4 and the Xbox One, so why would you bother with the Switch 2? Other than it's going to be a nice player base that may want to play the game mobilely, but I don't know if the hardware is going to be up to snuff. But all of that aside, I think tariffs are the main reason why they delayed. It's not that the game is not done. It's not that the game needed more time. I mean, sure, they could have probably gotten the thing over the start-finish line sometime in November ish, but if the industry looks like it's about to head off a cliff, the last thing you want to do is release the most anticipated game that will probably land like a thud, because once again, it's next gen only. And more than half of the player base on both Xbox and on PlayStation are still on the old hardware. That's what I think this delay is. But clip it if you want, bookmark it, whatever. Tinfoil hat aside, I think that's the reason. Nothing else, nothing less, nothing more. But that's my 2 cents on it. And with the whole thing with Ryan McCafferty, it's, Xbox likes stepping on rakes. He likes stepping on rakes just as much. It's like, if Xbox steps on a rake, it seems like he steps on 2. But, he is who he is. I still don't forgive him for the whole, Final Fantasy VII versus the Tomb Raider deal. It's like, oh, it's good for it's not good for the goose if it's good for the gander, or whatever the saying is. It just feels like he always finds a way to have egg on his face or just step on that rake. But like I said, that's my thoughts on the whole GTA deal. And bear in mind, I don't think the Pro, no matter what, is going to do 60 frames. So fingers crossed that delay allows them to also release the PC at the same time. Although I have my doubts. This is Rockstar. They've never done it that way. So they're going to try to get you to buy it twice. Remember, they're probably the biggest proponent against dual entitlement that Xbox is trying to push with a lot of publishers. They've refused to do it because they know they can get you a double dip or triple dip or quadruple dip, because a lot of us have bought it on PS3 or Xbox 360. Then we bought it on the following generation. And then some of us even bought it on this current generation and or bought it on PC. So they figure they can get at least 2 copies out of you between console and PC. So
you have bought 10 copies. I'm guaranteeing that your kids bought at least 3 each. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
They definitely had the Xbox One and the PC copy. And then I think they had the physical copy and the digital copy and a PC copy. So you're right. There's at least 3 for each of them. And then I bought it on PS3, Xbox One, PS4, PC, but I've yet to buy it on the next gen console, because PC, initially was better. And then the next gen updates, the enhanced version, they finally gave PC the updates as far as the ray tracing, although there's mods out there for that stuff beforehand. So, but yeah, be prepared for more games that are reliant on next gen hardware to possibly look at postponing their release.